Captain Lee Hanna stood at the window of the trading station, watching the silver ships of the Zephyrian patrol move slowly through space. The ships looked like metal fish swimming in the dark ocean of stars. She had seen these patrols many times before, but today felt different. Today felt dangerous. 300 years had passed since humanity was thrown out of the Galactic Council. The alien races had called humans too wild and too dangerous after a meeting went wrong. The human diplomats had refused to let the aliens read their minds, and this made the aliens angry and scared. They said humans could not be trusted, so they banned all humans from the galaxy's important areas. Now the galaxy belonged to three powerful groups. The Zephyrians were tall, thin aliens who could read thoughts and control all the information networks across the stars. They knew everything that happened everywhere. The Chromac Empire was made of strong, war-loving aliens who had the biggest weapons and the strongest armies. They controlled most of the military power in the galaxy. The Villani Consortium were small, quick aliens who loved money and trade. They controlled all the buying and selling between different worlds. Or at least, that is what everyone believed. Hanna smiled as she watched the Zephyrian ships. They had no idea that humans were still here, still watching, still working. The aliens thought they had won when they sent humanity away to the empty edges of space. They thought humans would die out or become weak and forgotten. They were very wrong, Commander, whispered Park Min-ho, walking up behind her. He was her communications officer, but like her, he was much more than he appeared to be. We have a problem. The Zephyrians found something at Outpost 7. Hanna's smile disappeared. Outpost 7 was supposed to be a simple mining station, run by independent traders. But it was really one of hundreds of secret human bases hidden across the galaxy. If the Zephyrians had found advanced human technology there, it could destroy everything they had built. What kind of technology? She asked quietly. Power cores that are too advanced, computer systems that work too well, weapons that should not exist according to their records of what humans can build. Hanna closed her eyes. For 3 centuries, humanity had played a very careful game. They had pretended to be weak while becoming strong. They had pretended to be scattered while building a secret network that reached into every corner of galactic civilization. They called this network the web because it connected everything like a spider's web. The web was humanity's greatest secret and their greatest weapon. While the aliens celebrated their victory over the dangerous humans, those same humans were quietly taking jobs throughout the galaxy. They became engineers who fixed the aliens' machines. They became doctors who healed the aliens' sick. They became teachers, translators, mechanics, and computer experts. Always helpful, always useful, never threatening. But they were much more than they seemed. Send the code, Hanna said finally. All cells go silent immediately. Minho nodded and walked to his communication station. Within seconds, he sent out a message that looked like normal trading information about grain prices. But hidden inside the innocent message was a signal that would reach human agents on 1,000 different worlds. Across the galaxy, humans who had spent their entire lives pretending to be loyal servants of alien masters received the message. Dr. Kim Dae-ho, who worked as a medical officer for the Galactic Council itself, read the message while treating a Zephyrian diplomat's headache. Agent Song Yuna, who managed trade routes for the Villani Consortium, saw the code while checking shipping schedules. Lieutenant Bae Jisoo, who served in the Chromac Military Intelligence Division, received the signal during a strategy meeting about border security. All of them understood what the message meant. The secret was out. The careful game they had played for 300 years was about to end. Now they had to choose between staying hidden and revealing the truth about what humanity had become. The aliens had thought they were clever when they exiled humanity. They believed they had removed a dangerous threat to their ordered galaxy. But they had actually done something much worse for themselves and much better for humanity. They had freed humans from all the rules and restrictions that kept them weak. They had forced humans to become stronger, smarter, and more dangerous than ever before. While the 3 alien powers had spent centuries fighting small wars with each other and arguing about territory and trade rights, humans had been building something much more powerful. They had built a shadow empire that existed inside the aliens' own civilizations. Every major alien institution now depended on human workers to function. Every important alien leader trusted human advisors. Every critical alien system was maintained by human engineers. The aliens ruled from their fancy palaces and council chambers, making speeches about their power and their wisdom. But the real power belonged to the quiet humans who kept their machines running, their food arriving, their communications working, and their weapons functioning. Hana looked out at the Zephyrian patrol ships one more time. Soon, those aliens would learn the truth about who really controlled their galaxy. The exiled humans had never left. They had simply learned to rule from the shadows. The Shadow War was about to begin. Dr. Kim Dae-ho walked through the bright white halls of the Galactic Council Medical Center, his footsteps making soft sounds on the smooth floor. Other workers nodded at him with respect as he passed. To them, he was just another good doctor who had worked hard to earn his position. They had no idea that he was one of the most important humans in the galaxy. For 15 years, Kim had served as the chief medical officer for the Galactic Council. He treated sick diplomats, checked the health of important leaders, and managed medical supplies for the entire central government. The aliens trusted him completely. They told him their secrets when they were worried about their health. They asked his advice about medical problems on their home worlds. They never suspected that everything they told him was being recorded and sent to other humans across the galaxy. In his private office, Kim activated a special communication device, hidden inside what looked like a normal medical scanner. The device created a secure connection that could not be detected by alien monitoring systems. A blue hologram appeared in the air, showing the face of Captain Lee Hana. "Report," Hana said simply. Kim smiled. "The network is stronger than ever. We now have active agents in every major institution across the galaxy. The infiltration is complete." He pulled up a list on his computer screen. But instead of medical records, it showed the secret identities of human agents. Agent Choi Nari works as the personal assistant to the Zephyrian Defense Minister. She sees all military plans before they are announced. Agent Oh Seung serves as the chief engineer for the Chromac Fleet Maintenance Division. Every warship that gets repaired goes through his hands first. Hana leaned forward with interest. "How many total?" "Over 10,000 in critical positions. Another 50,000 in supporting roles. We have humans working as translators in diplomatic meetings, as computer technicians maintaining information networks, as supply officers managing food and equipment shipments, and as security guards protecting the most important buildings in the galaxy." The plan had been brilliant in its simplicity. After the exile, the older generation of humans had made a difficult choice. Instead of trying to build new colonies far from alien space, they decided to hide their children inside alien society itself. Human babies were given new identities and false histories. They were raised by human agents who pretended to be alien families, or by aliens who never knew the truth about the children they adopted. These human children grew up speaking alien languages perfectly. They learned alien customs and alien ways of thinking. They went to alien schools and made alien friends. But secretly, they also learned about their true heritage from hidden human teachers. They learned that they were part of something much bigger than themselves. "Tell me about the new generation," Hana requested. Kim's expression became proud. "They are amazing. Agent Park Ji-won just got promoted to senior trade analyst for the Villani Consortium. She now helps decide which planets get the most important supply shipments. Agent Lee Min-soo works in the Zephyrian Communication Center. Every major message that gets sent between star systems passes through his station." These young humans had spent their entire lives preparing for their secret mission. They studied harder than their alien classmates. They worked longer hours than their alien co-workers. They made themselves so useful and so trusted that their alien bosses could not imagine working without them. But their greatest skill was staying invisible. They never drew attention to themselves. They never asked for the highest positions or the most important titles. Instead, they took jobs that put them close to power without making them powerful themselves. They became the people that powerful aliens depended on to get things done. "The beautiful part," Kim continued, is that they have no idea how much they need us. When a Chromac general wants to move his army, he depends on human logistics officers to organize the supplies. When a Zephyrian leader wants to send a secret message, he uses communication equipment maintained by human technicians. When a Vellani merchant wants to make a big trade deal, he relies on financial systems programmed by human computer experts. Hana nodded slowly. They think they exiled us, but we've been running their civilization. Exactly. We are the mechanics who fix their machines when they break. We are the doctors who keep their leaders healthy. We are the teachers who educate their children. We are the engineers who design their buildings and their spaceships. We are the farmers who grow their food and the cooks who prepare their meals. Kim pulled up another screen showing a map of the galaxy, with thousands of small lights scattered across it. Each light represented a human agent working in secret. The lights were everywhere, on every major world, in every important organization, inside every powerful government. We have become the invisible foundation that holds their entire civilization together, Kim said. They sit in their fancy offices making important speeches about their power and their authority. But if all the humans stopped working tomorrow, their whole galaxy would fall apart in a matter of days. Hana smiled grimly. Good. When the time comes, they will learn who really controls their destiny. The two humans ended their secret communication, and Kim returned to his normal duties. He had 3 more alien patients to see that afternoon, and each of them would trust him completely with their health and their secrets, never knowing that their trusted doctor was part of humanity's greatest victory. Agent Song Yuna sat at her desk in the Vellani Trade Center, watching numbers flash across multiple computer screens. To anyone looking at her, she appeared to be a hard-working trade coordinator checking shipping schedules and cargo manifests. But the numbers she was really watching told a very different story. They showed the beginning of humanity's carefully planned revenge. The Zephyrian investigation into human technology at Outpost 7 had forced the web to take action. After 3 centuries of patient waiting, the Shadow War had begun. Yuna's fingers moved quickly across her keyboard, sending what looked like routine trade updates to shipping companies across the galaxy, but hidden in the innocent business messages were coded instructions to human agents everywhere. The plan they had prepared for decades was finally being put into action. On the planet Chromac Prime, Agent Bei Jisoo walked through the military supply warehouse where she worked as an inventory manager. She had been in this job for 8 years, and everyone trusted her completely. Her alien supervisor often said she was the most reliable worker he had ever seen. He had no idea that she was about to become his worst nightmare. Jisoo quietly changed numbers in the computer system that tracked military supplies. She made small adjustments that would not be noticed for several days. Food shipments that were supposed to go to the Third Fleet were redirected to civilian planets. Weapon parts meant for the border defense stations were sent to training academies that did not need them. Fuel supplies for important military bases were marked as delivered but never actually shipped. Meanwhile, on a Zephyrian communication station, Agent Lee Min-soo was creating different kinds of problems. As a senior technician, he had access to the quantum relay systems that carried telepathic messages across vast distances. The Zephyrians depended on these systems to coordinate their government and military operations. Min-soo introduced tiny errors into the relay programming. The errors were so small that they looked like natural equipment failures, but they caused big problems. Important messages arrived several hours late. Military orders were delivered to the wrong units. Diplomatic communications became scrambled, making them impossible to understand. On Vellani merchant worlds, human agents working in transportation companies began their own part of the plan. Agent Park Ji-won used her access to shipping schedules to create massive delays in the supply chains. Cargo ships that should have delivered food to industrial planets were rerouted to agricultural worlds that already had plenty of food. Medical supplies meant for hospitals were sent to military bases. Construction materials needed for new buildings were shipped to planets where no construction was planned. The beautiful part of the plan was that none of these problems looked connected. Each incident appeared to be a separate accident or equipment failure. The alien leaders had no reason to suspect that someone was deliberately causing the chaos. Dr. Kim Dae-ho still working in his position at the Galactic Council, watched the alien leaders' reactions with quiet satisfaction. In the council meetings, the three major powers began accusing each other of sabotage. The Chromac military commanders were furious about their supply problems. "The Volani are deliberately disrupting our shipments to weaken our defenses," declared General Thrak during an emergency session. "They want to force us to pay higher prices for essential supplies." The Volani trade leaders were equally angry about the chaos in their shipping networks. "The Zephyrians are using their telepathic abilities to interfere with our computer systems," insisted Merchant Prime Velos. "They want to control all galactic trade themselves." The Zephyrian Diplomatic Corps blamed the communication failures on Chromac interference. "The military empire is jamming our relay networks with new technology," announced Council Speaker Zeth. "They are trying to prevent us from coordinating with our allies." As the alien powers turned their anger and suspicion toward each other, the human agents continued their careful work. On a dozen different worlds, human engineers working in power plants introduced small problems into the electrical systems. The problems caused rolling blackouts that lasted just long enough to disrupt important meetings and slow down government operations. Human computer technicians working for banking systems created minor glitches that delayed financial transactions. Money that should have been transferred in minutes took hours or days to arrive. Trade deals that depended on quick payments fell apart when the funds did not appear on time. Human mechanics working in spaceports made tiny adjustments to ship maintenance schedules. Vessels that were supposed to be ready for departure had to wait for replacement parts. Crews that expected to leave on schedule found themselves stuck in port for days, while technicians fixed problems that seemed to appear from nowhere. Captain Hana coordinated the entire operation from her hidden command center. Reports came in every hour from human agents across the galaxy. The plan was working perfectly. The three alien powers were so busy fighting each other that they had no time or energy to investigate the real cause of their problems. "Phase 2 complete," reported Lieutenant Bei Jisu during a secret communication session. "Military supply chains are in complete chaos. They suspect the Volani traders of deliberately sabotaging their operations." "Excellent," Hana replied. "Continue the pressure. Make sure they stay focused on blaming each other instead of looking for the real source of their troubles." The Shadow War had begun, and humanity was winning without firing a single shot. The aliens who had exiled them were destroying themselves, never realizing that their forgotten enemies were pulling all the strings from the darkness. The great chamber of the Galactic Council had never seen such chaos. Representatives from all three major powers shouted at each other across the circular meeting hall. The Chromac delegates slammed their armored fists on their desks. The Zephyrian speakers sent angry telepathic messages that made the air shimmer with mental energy. The Volani merchants waved financial reports and complained loudly about lost profits. Dr. Kim Daeho stood quietly in the medical observation area, watching the destruction of everything the aliens had built. As the Council's chief medical officer, he was supposed to be ready to help if any delegate became sick from stress. Instead, he was enjoying the greatest show of his life. For 6 months, the Shadow War had been tearing apart galactic civilization. What had started as small problems had grown into massive disasters. Supply chains had completely collapsed. Communication networks failed daily. Transportation systems worked only when they felt like it. Financial markets crashed and recovered and crashed again. The three alien powers were now so busy fighting each other that they had stopped governing their own territories properly. Planets that depended on imported food were running out of supplies. Industrial worlds could not get the raw materials they needed to keep their factories running. Military bases sat empty because soldiers could not get transportation to reach their assignments. But today was different. Today the web was finally ready to reveal the truth. Kim activated a small device hidden in his medical scanner. The device sent a signal to every human agent in the galaxy. After 3 centuries of hiding, it was time to step out of the shadows. In the Chromac military headquarters, Agent Bei Jisu walked into the command center where she had worked for 8 years. Her supervisor, General Korath, was screaming at his communications officer about another failed supply delivery. "General," Jisu said calmly. "Not now," Korath shouted without looking at her. "Can't you see I'm busy dealing with these supply disasters?" The supply disasters are my fault, Jisoo said simply. The general stopped shouting and turned to stare at her. What did you say? I said the supply disasters are my fault. I have been changing the shipping orders and redirecting your supplies for the past 6 months. I am not Chromac. I am human. For a moment, Korath could not speak. Then he began to laugh. That's impossible. Humans were exiled centuries ago. Besides, you have worked here for years. I know your family. I attended your graduation ceremony. My family were human agents. My graduation was from a human training program. My real name is Bae Jisoo, and I have been waiting my entire life for this moment. Similar scenes were happening across the galaxy. In the Villani Trade Center, Agent Song Yuna stood up from her desk and announced to her shocked co-workers that she was human and had been sabotaging their shipping networks. On Zephyrian communication stations, human technicians revealed their true identities and explained how they had been disrupting the telepathic relay systems. In the Galactic Council chamber, Kim stepped forward from his observation area and walked to the center of the hall. The arguing delegates fell silent as they recognized their trusted medical officer. Honored representatives, Kim said in a clear, strong voice. I need to tell you something important. My name is Kim Daeho, and I am human. The silence in the chamber was complete. Several Zephyrian delegates tried to read his mind to see if he was lying, but Kim had been trained to block telepathic scans since childhood. For 15 years I have served as your medical officer, Kim continued. I have treated your illnesses, managed your health records, and listened to your secrets. Every piece of information you gave me was recorded and sent to the human shadow, government that you believed no longer existed. Council Speaker Zeth stood up slowly. This is some kind of joke. Humans were exiled. They are primitive refugees living on the edge of civilized space. Kim smiled. That is what we wanted you to believe. The truth is that humans never left. We simply learned to hide among you. For 3 centuries, we have been infiltrating your governments, your militaries, your businesses, and your institutions. He activated a holographic display that showed the faces of thousands of humans working in positions throughout galactic civilization. The representatives gasped as they recognized trusted advisors, essential workers, and longtime employees. Agent Choi Nari has been working as the personal assistant to your defense minister for 12 years, Kim said, pointing to one face. Agent Oh Xiong maintains your entire military fleet. Agent Park Jiwon controls most of your trade scheduling systems. Agent Lee Minsu handles your most sensitive communications. The display showed more and more faces. Humans working as engineers, doctors, teachers, mechanics, computer programmers, security guards, and administrators. They were everywhere, in every important organization, doing every essential job. You thought you exiled us because we were too dangerous and unpredictable, Kim said. But those same qualities made us perfect for surviving in your civilization. We adapted, we learned, we became indispensable. General Thrak of the Chromac stood up, his armor clanking. Even if this is true, you are still just support staff. We control the real power. Kim's smile grew wider. Do you? Your weapons don't work without human engineers to maintain them. Your ships don't fly without human pilots and mechanics. Your food doesn't arrive without human logistics coordinators. Your communications don't function without human technicians. As if to prove his point, the lights in the council chamber flickered and went out. Emergency power came on, but the main computer systems remained dark. You see, Kim said in the dim red emergency lighting, we don't need to conquer you. We already control you. You just never realized it. The emergency session of the Galactic Council took place in near darkness. Only backup power systems were working, and even those flickered occasionally. The great chamber that had once been filled with bright lights and the proud voices of galactic leaders now felt like a cave where frightened animals had gathered to hide from a storm. President Lee Sunho, who had once been Captain Hana, walked slowly into the chamber. She no longer needed to hide her identity or pretend to be a simple trader. The woman who entered wore the dark blue uniform of humanity's shadow fleet, with silver stars on her collar that marked her as the leader of all human forces in the galaxy. Behind her walked 12 other humans who had spent decades working in secret throughout alien space. Dr. Kim Dae-ho was there, no longer pretending to be just a medical officer. Agent Song Yuna wore the green robes of a trade negotiator. Lieutenant Bae Jisoo had traded her chromac military disguise for the black uniform of human intelligence operations. The alien representatives sat in stunned silence as the humans took their places at the center of the chamber. For 3 days, galactic civilization had been falling apart. Power grids failed randomly. Food shipments stopped arriving. Communication networks went dark for hours at a time. Transportation systems worked only when human operators decided to make them work. Council. Speaker Zeth was the first to break the silence. His telepathic voice sounded weak and tired. "What do you want from us?" President Lee looked around the chamber at the faces of the alien leaders who had once been so proud and confident. Now they looked scared and confused, like children who had lost their parents. "We want what we should have had 3 centuries ago," she said calmly. "We want to be treated as equals, not as dangerous animals that need to be caged or exiled." General Thrak of the Chromac leaned forward in his chair. "You have destroyed our supply lines and communications. You have sabotaged our equipment and disrupted our operations. How is this the behavior of equals?" "We have simply stopped working for free," Lee replied. "For 300 years, humans have maintained your civilization while you took credit for our achievements. We built your machines, grew your food, educated your children, and healed your sick. We did all of this while you believed we were too primitive and dangerous to be trusted with real responsibility." Merchant Prime Velos of the Villani spoke up, his voice shaking slightly. "Even if what you say is true, you cannot run galactic civilization by yourselves. You need our knowledge and our resources." Dr. Kim stepped forward. "Do we? Let me tell you what has happened in the past 3 days. On Chromac Prime, your military bases have no food because human logistics officers stopped organizing supply deliveries. On Zephyria Central, your government buildings have no power because human engineers stopped maintaining the fusion reactors. On Villani Trade Hub, your financial systems have crashed because human programmers stopped updating the software." He paused to let his words sink in. "Your advanced civilization depends completely on human labor. Without us, you cannot feed your people, power your cities, transport your goods, or communicate across space. You are not our masters. You are our dependents." The silence in the chamber was heavy and uncomfortable. The alien leaders were beginning to understand the true situation. They had spent centuries believing they were the superior races who had graciously allowed primitive humans to serve them. Now they were learning that they were helpless without human support. President Lee activated a holographic display that showed the current state of galactic civilization. Red warning lights blinked on thousands of worlds where essential systems were failing. Green lights showed the few planets where human agents were still maintaining normal operations. "We are offering you a choice," Lee said. "You can accept humans as full partners in galactic government, or you can try to run your civilization without us. If you choose the second option, we estimate that most of your worlds will become uninhabitable within 6 months." Council Speaker Zeth tried to send a telepathic message to his assistants, but the communication relay systems were not working. "This is blackmail," he said aloud. "No," Lee replied. "This is reality. We are not threatening to destroy your civilization. We are simply no longer willing to maintain it for free, while you pretend that we do not exist." Agent Park Ji-won, who had spent years managing Villani trade routes, stepped forward with a data pad. "We have prepared a new agreement called the Shadow Accord. Under this agreement, humans will return to their positions maintaining galactic infrastructure. In exchange, humanity will be recognized as the 4th major power in the Galactic Council, with equal voting rights and full representation in all important decisions." General Thrak slammed his fist on his desk. "You expect us to just surrender our authority to a race we exiled for being too dangerous?" President Lee smiled coldly. "General, you surrendered your authority 3 centuries ago when you decided you could not function without human workers. You just never realized it." The negotiation continued for hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The aliens could argue and complain, but they could not change the basic facts. Without human cooperation, their civilization would collapse within months. 7 days later, the Shadow Accord was signed in the same chamber where humanity had been exiled 3 centuries earlier. The galaxy now had 4 major powers instead of 3, and the newest power was also the most important one. President Lee stood in the observation area where she had once watched alien ships as Captain Hana. Now those same ships needed human permission to fly, human mechanics to maintain them, and human navigators to guide them safely through space. The exiled had become the indispensable. The shadows had consumed the light, and humanity ruled from everywhere and nowhere, just as they had planned.